raining in the park, but meantime, sound of the river, you stop and you hold everything. A band is blowing Dixie, double fall time. You feel alright when you hear the music ring. Well, now you step inside, but you don't see too many faces. Coming in out of the rain, they hear the jazz go down. Competition in other places, but the horns, they blowing that sound. Way on down south, way on down south, London town. Check out Guitar George, he knows all the chords. But it's strictly rhythm, he doesn't wanna make it cry or sing. If then an old guitar is all he can afford, when he gets up under the lights to play his thing. And Harry doesn't mind if he doesn't make the scene. He's got a daytime job, he's doing alright. He can play the honky-tonk like anything, saving it up Friday night with the Sultans, with the Sultans of Swing. Crowd of young boys, they're fooling around in the corner, drunk and dressed in their best brown baggies in their platform soles. They don't give a damn about any trumpet playing band. It ain't what they call rock and roll. And the Sultans, yeah, the Sultans that play Creole. Creole. Microphone and says it last just as the time bell rings. Good night, now it's time to go home. Then he makes it fast with one more thing. We are the Sultans, we are the Sultans of Swing.
Just before we start our service of the day, ladies and gentlemen, just a couple of things that I will fill you in on. At the end of our service here today, Peter will be taken down to do a final lap of honour, and those of you who would like to join in a guard of honour, you're more than welcome to go through the side doors and line up just inside the ground there while he comes on his final lap. And when that is finished, then Peter will be taken directly to Burnie for the final part of the service with family only, and then return afterwards. After Peter leaves, the bar will be open then, and when the family return, then you're all invited to share in some refreshments here this afternoon. And to catch up with the family and to acknowledge your amazing support in honour of this much-loved patriarch of the Templeton dynasty. Messages of condolence and apologies from friends and family and well-wishers have already been gratefully received by Leanne and the family. And there are so many people who can't make it today, and they are with you in spirit, as you would know, and they share in your sorrow today. The service today is being live streamed, and people from all parts of the world can join in with us today. And I know that they are all sorrowing with you people in your darkest hour. We say farewell to a great man, a great mentor, but most of all, a great friend. And the legacy that Peter leaves will continue to inspire us all into the future. Officially, it's good morning to you all, and welcome as we meet to honour the life of Mr. Peter Greg Templeton. My name is Dudley Corbett, or Spud if you know me better. I'm honoured to lead today's farewell for Peter and to join with you in expressing our thanks for his life, to say goodbye to him, and to support each other in the loss of a much-loved man and mentor. Peter would not have wanted you to be sad, but for each of you to smile and remember the good times that you shared together. And a lot of those good times would have been shared here in this very room and on that particular batch of green out there. Please feel free to continue in this sharing of remembrance over some light refreshments after the family return from Burnie. Excuse me. The newspaper notice reads, Templeton, Peter Gregg, 23rd of the 5th, 1964 to the 21st of the 9th, 2024. Cherished husband and soulmate of Leanne, loved and idolised dad of Jack and Eli, father-in-law of Christy, adored Poppy Pete of Wyatt and Marley, loved second son of Helen and John, deceased, loved brother of Michael and Johnny, brother-in-law of Melita, loved son-in-law of Jim, and loved brother-in-law of Andrew, loved uncle to all his nieces and nephews. And the bottom line reads, to catch a fish is a bonus. He loved to fish. Some people come into our lives and leave having made our lives far richer. Peter moved our souls in many ways. He awakened us to new understandings of love, of patience and of kindness, and the will to make the most of whatever time we have left. And some people, just by living life, make the world a much better and a much happier place in which to live. Peter filled the lives of all around him with new understandings of generosity and caring and guidance. He filled our lives with peace, with love, and with serenity. Except the half-time gee-up. Wasn't too serene then. But when Pete said goodbye, he left footprints in our hearts, and we will never be the same. Thank you, Pete, for all the gifts that you have left in our hearts, but you will live on in the hearts of all those who loved you. And I think Pete would have said this: when I come to the end of the road and the sun has set for me, I want no rights in a gloom-filled room. Why cry for a soul set free? Miss me a little, but not too long, and not with your heads bowed low. Remember the love that we once shared. Miss me, but let me go. For this is a journey we all must take, and each must go alone. It's all a part of the Master's plan, a step on the road to home. So when you are lonely and sick of heart, go to the friends we know. Bury your sorrows in doing good deeds. Miss me, but let me go. We have some very important speakers today who will be sharing emotional times about the great man, but just as a lead-in, and I won't be pinching anyone's thunder, I learned that Peter was born on the 23rd of the 5th, 1964, at Burnie to John and Helen. He was the second of three boys, but his early schooling was in Wodonga, and later the family came back to Tassie, and Peter went to Burnie High sometimes. The speakers, no doubt, to follow will elaborate on the finer details there, on the formative and future years of our dear friend. But some amazing tributes have been received from the president of the footy club and from other people who can't be with us today. But look, the family are just so overwhelmed with this wonderful attendance here today and this great show of love and honour. And hello, somebody wants to help me. But and they do thank you all so much for coming along to pay your respects and just to prove that Peter was so loved and so respected. I'd now like to call on Peter's brother Michael to start proceedings with family tributes. And no doubt Michael has many stories. Probably some of them can be told in public. Michael, welcome aboard.
Thanks, Alan.
Yeah. Johnny?
I will keep them to the public ones. Make yourselves comfortable. Petey, today we say goodbye to our third amigo. Count to 10. Not too many brothers can say they're also each other's best mates. We were lucky and privileged to be able to say that. We'll try and get through it, Pete, without too much emotion. Can't guarantee that. We'll try and swallow a glass of cement and get on with it. That's exactly what Pete would have said. To be honest, we could have written a book just on our funny stories with Pete. He had four loves in life: sport, particularly footy, of course, fishing, friends, and most importantly, his family. The legacy Pete leaves and the impact he had on all of us is immense and evidenced not only by you people attending here today, but as Dudley said, all the support from far and wide over the last week or so. Right, Now, we were talking the other day, and Mum mentioned that Pete was just a beautiful baby, and by far the easiest out of the three of us, and pretty content. She then went on to say he didn't walk till he was 18 months old, and at one stage was putting on £1 pound a day. No wonder he was easy to manage. Growing up and through his life, Pete always had a bit of mischief in him. And when he was planning to do something or say something, he'd just sit quietly with this cheeky smile on his face. And when you saw that, look out. Nobody knew what was coming next. At the same time, Pete was soft and caring as a kid. Johnny and I had hurt ourselves, and Peter would cry. Since he was a kid, he's always loved to tinker and plan projects. Most of them only ever got half finished. And Johnny and I saw something at Lil and Pete's home that he started, I think, 15 years ago. He's always loved the water, and as Dudley said for school, well, it was something Pete just had to do. He essentially kept his own timetable. Now, Pete would like us to have a little bit of a laugh. So I'll just give you a couple of little stories about Pete when he was a kid. And I mean a kid, he was probably only 5 or 6 or 7. Where we lived in Wodonga was a place called High Street. Now that was the Hume Highway between Melbourne and Sydney. Mum and Dad had a caravan yard, and over the road was a 24/7 truck stop Golden Fleece service station. Pete had, unbeknownst to any of us, for quite a few years, about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, get a little bit peckish. So he'd go over to the Golden Fleece service station, and if you can imagine, there's the front door, there's the back door, and out the back is where they would keep their bottles and cans for recycling. And we'd also get 5 or 10 cents or whatever the money was back in the time. So Pete'd wander over, night after night, go to the back of the Golden Fleece, grab enough bottles to take around to the front door, and order a burger and a milkshake. Look, we also spent a fair bit of time at the pool when we were kids, like all kids do. But Peter always loved to get somebody wet, particularly when they weren't in the pool. So he'd do these bombs or horrors or whatever you call them. And unluckily for Pete, he always timed it when the pool manager walked past. Instead of going straight off the diving board, he'd go just to the right or just to the left, just to make sure he got Mr. Drummond, I think his name was, wet through. So, as penance, Peter was asked to grab a bin and pick the papers up, and when he had a full bin, he could go back in for a swim. It's fair to say at that pool, Peter spent more time picking up papers than he did swimming. Look, Pete loved his sport, and he was bloody good at whatever he did. Whether it was basketball or golf, he made hundreds for Yeoman. I think he played in a Yeoman NWTCA premiership. I don't know about that, but I'm pretty sure he did. In first grade. But footy was his passion. For 35 to 40 years, he was involved with 5 clubs across the coast as a player or in a coaching capacity at some level. In his prime, in my opinion, as a player, he was simply one of this state's best. By the time he was 21, He'd played in 3 consecutive grand finals with the then Cooey. He'd won 2 premierships and lost 1 by a bloody point. Ironically, the first premiership was against Penguin. He starred in rep games for the old NWFU, in particular the last game ever played between the NWFU and the TFL at West Park in 1985. He captained the NWFL and he represented Tassie. Now, at some stage in Peter's career, I was in Adelaide and I was playing footy in Adelaide, and he rings me up and he says, "Michael, that injury you had last year, can you explain the symptoms to me?" And I just happened to do the other side of the body, and it was, I think it's called osteopubis now. So essentially your stomach muscles tear away from your pubic bone, so they have to snip it off, staple it back on, and 6 weeks later you're playing footy again. Well, I said to Pete, "Sounds like you got something similar to me." I said, I'm going in next week or the week after for an op. Here's the doctor's number, give him a ring. So anyway, Pete rings him, comes over to Adelaide. Lo and behold, the same surgeon, the same hospital, and the same bedroom. Same day as the operation. Happened to be the week before the 1990 grand final. Now we all know who won that. Now, after the operation, we're sitting in the... Well, we weren't sitting, we were laying in bed, and it was only a very small room, and we had the TV on, and for you people that are old enough, we were watching a comedy, and if you've ever had an operation down there and you've stitched up, it sort of hurts if you do anything, particularly laugh. Well, we happened to be watching Steptoe and Son, and it used to be very funny. Anyway, the doctor come in, and he said, "How are you boys going?" We said, "Oh yeah, we're okay." And because it was the week of the grand final, we were pretty keen to get home so we could watch it on the Saturday. He said, "Look, I'll come back in tomorrow, and if you've been to the toilet, I'll let you go home." Well, the door hadn't even shut, and Peter was out of bed and into the toilet. And I'm laying in bed, and I could hear all these strange noises and a scream. Hold that. Then all of a sudden, Pete walks out of the toilet and he goes, like he used to do, "Right to go." And Planty told me another funny story about Pete the other day, which I think is hilarious given the fact that he loves fishing so much. They must have had a break of some stage, and Planty and a few of the boys and Pete decided to go up to the Great Lakes for fishing. Well, there's a couple of pubs along the way, I believe. So they had a few beers the first day. They get up the next morning to go fishing. Not one of them had taken a fishing rod. It would have been a bloody bonus that day to catch a fish. Just quickly as a coach, everybody here at Penguin knows how good a coach Pete was, but just a quick couple of things. He won a reserves premiership in 1998 with the Burnie Dockers. He was a backline coach in their 2012 premiership, in which his 2 favourite footballers played, Jack and Eli. And he finally finished at Penguin, I think for 5 years, if I've got it right, getting them into a grand final in his very first year as coach. Not many coaches can do that. I never saw Peter in a happier place than at the Penguin Football Club. He just loved it here. Just a little bit on work. He worked most of his life, as you know, in the tyre industry, finishing as a manager at Smithton Tyre and Battery, and he absolutely loved that job. He really did love going to work. friends. Bumbler and Rev will have a bit of a chat later about his friends and some of their antics, I hope. Pete did love spending time with you guys, and you know he did. Family. Number 4 goes without saying, and I don't need to say anything else. Although we lived most of our lives far and wide across Australia, Pete just loved catching up with his extended family. Didn't matter how often, we just took off where we left the last time. And bloody oath he had some fun. In fact, when the 3 of us were together, it's fair to say nobody else knew what was going to happen. Mum, I know you and Pete loved each other very much. But I do have to say that this. When Dad passed away, Pete being Pete, tried to be the handyman at times for Mum. But 99.9% of the time, Mum had to finish off his work. Now, as brothers, we'd laugh together, cry together, and obviously play up a fair bit together. Any water? Yeah. Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. Pete and Leanne married in 85. They're both pretty young, I think 21 or so. I'd just moved away. And biggest regret of my life was not being able to get back for their wedding. Lo and behold, I get a phone call from them, and I was living in Adelaide, and they said, "We're here for our honeymoon." So I go and pick them up. Not only did they come to Adelaide for their honeymoon, they brought bloody Brent and Sharon with them. So they stayed for a week, borrowed my car, did whatever they had to do. And Lil told me this the other day, that, and I'd actually forgotten about it. When I went to pick the car up, I saw this note there. And I thought, oh, that's nice of them. They've left me a nice little thank you note. I opened the note up, and it was a bloody $200 parking fine. Leanne apparently said to the boys, "I think we should pay this, don't you?" And Peter and Planty just looked at each other and said, "Stuff him." Lil, you and Petey, and we always called him Petey, shared a bond, a marriage, and a love for each other that very few people have. Jack and Eli, you were simply the apple of your dad's eye, and he was so proud of you both. Ooh, hold that. Wyatt and Marley, Poppy Pete will always be looking over you. Pete was truly one of life's gems, a hard-working, fun-loving, caring, beautiful, gentle man. On Lil and Pete's fridge, they've got a magnet that says, "When you love and laugh abundantly, you live a beautiful life." Well played, Petey. And from all of us, 3 votes, Peter Templeton.
Thank you, Michael, for that short resume. And Pete, we admired you as a footballer even when you were in opposition, but we didn't like you. We grew to love you. I'd now like to call on someone who is a very familiar face within the annals of this particular club, and I speak of Peter's champion son, Jack, and I believe he's bringing brother Eli with him as well for support. Have you got as much paperwork as the last speaker, or are you fairly right?
No,
it's all yours, men. Thank you.
In our eyes as kids growing up, Dad was the hardest working, loyal and trustworthy man that we could always count on. He was our hero, the perfect role model. We idolised everything about him. If we both become half the man he was, then we will be living a good life. He loved us unconditionally as we did him. It's going to be hard, but we'll remember the family weekends away together, swimming, fishing, relaxing down the shack, day trips through to Stanley, scoot off to the tavern for a cold beer. And the day fishing on the beach we turned into night fishing by the bonfire, and a few cheeky beers after that. Dad, as you all know, was a legend of coastal footy. He was a fierce competitor who hated to lose, played over 250 senior games, represented the state, captained the old MWFU, 3-time Cooey Premiership player, 2-time statewide Premiership player, plus all the personal accolades that came with it. Once retired, he was heavily involved in coaching across a few clubs along the coast. He was lucky enough, and we were lucky enough, that he assisted Bernie, which we both played in the TSL flag together, before finally moving to Penguin. Although Dad wasn't involved with the footy club prior to him coaching, he always called this place home. And the 5 years he spent at the footy club set the foundation up the place is today. He loved this footy club and everyone loved him. He was always straight down the line. He was our harshest critic and wanted everyone to get the best out of themselves. He made us wear the Guernsey with pride every time we put it on. After games, he'd be the first one to have a beer, catch up with the life members, volunteers and anyone else in the room. It's just the person he was. He loved Mad Monday weekend. He loved being around the boys. We'd often find himself all hours of the morning, curled up in the trainers' rooms, on top of whatever he could shut his eye on. To backing it up 2 weeks later, fly over to Melbourne with the Borough boys and celebrate a VFL premiership with Eli. Dad loved footy. But nowhere near as much as our incredibly strong and beautiful mum, Lil. They were each other's best friend and almost married 40 years. Mum's the strongest woman we know, and you'll be so proud of her this week. If there's one promise we can keep, and that we'll be stronger than ever for her and make sure she's loved and cared for the way you taught us. We also promise that the love and care you taught us along with your future daughter-in-law, Christy, will be passed on to your beautiful grandkids, White and Marley. They've been robbed of a life with their Poppy Pete. They will grow up knowing and loving stories about you, Pop. I'm heartbroken for them. I'm heartbroken for us. But you will never be forgotten. The hole that's left is irreplaceable, but I'll make sure our family stays strong together and honour your name. Rest in peace, Dad. We love you.
It's not in the script, Jack, that you make the celebrant shed a tear. That was well done. Thank you so much. And now, one of Pete's fishing mates, closest advisor, confidant, you name it, Mr. Bumbler Adams. Where are you, Rodney? Oh, here he comes. And Rev, a couple of club legends, talking about another club legend. All yours, boys. Right.
Other pocket, mate.
Other pocket.
Well, I'm just trying to set the scene because this is where I always found Pete at his best. And I'm sorry it's not a stubby, mate, but I had to drink a can as I'm allergic to glass. And I'd like to light. And myself, the fire pot. Right. We're here to represent some of Pete's closest friends, mates, and I would also add to all who are here and those on the live stream that were unable to attend today. We treat it as an honour. We celebrate and mourn our loss of Pete, Petey, Temps and Poppy Pete, not only to his own children, grandchildren, but also to many others who Pete and Lil adopted over time by his connections throughout his far too short life. Firstly, I'd just like to give a definition of mateship. A mate is more than just a friend and is a term that implies a sense of shared experience, mutual respect and unconditional assistance. So, our task today is not to be probably appropriate and say all the things that would say to his family at this time and his mates, but to hang some shit on him. Pete the planner always had a project in mind. Looking something, I could do this, I could do that. Never probably get done, it was always just good enough to get by. Planned our trips away. We used to travel away together and planned to go on a caravan tour. Pete would always have an idea, get a text, snapshot, good accommodation, cheap bumbler. What do you think? Is you to reply. Next week you get another one, different place. What do you think, bumbler? Or just catching up with their friends and families. As witnessed by the way Pete lived his life, he was, and I'll add is, always such a huge personality and influenced our lives over many years. His connection with people always amazed and humoured me at the time we spent together. When we went into a hotel, anywhere down the street, Pete'd walk through, hand out, shaking hands to everyone he could find, and I'd do a commentary on the sideline, you know. Pete Templeton, good to see you. And I'd make sure, half the way through, you'd be looking at it, you'd be shaking hands, or give the ladies a peck on the cheek, as Pete liked to do, greet everyone, and as I would often add that sometimes he wouldn't even know who he's talking to. And they would look and think, who was that? Didn't matter to Pete, he worked a room. I'm not going to repeat that one. Our fishing trips to Lake Pedder was a huge huge effort. We'd go to the Menai Hotel 7 months prior for a meeting. We had a lot of planning to do. Greyhounds was dog number 7 on everything. Who shout, we'd go through, we'd mention probably the fishing trip in one sentence, all go homes to our wives. No, it was really good. We're getting a fair bit done. Looking forward to the next one. It's one of the first trips I went with Pete. We went into the Durham Bridge Hotel, and it was an experience for me to go down there. Pete's up on the playing darts with another one of the other guys there. And I went out to the toilet, come back in. Next minute, he missed the board, threw a dart straight at me. And it went straight through the toe of my shoe. And I wouldn't give him the dart back. He could only play with 2 darts until I was either brave enough to remove it, as there was many people offering to do so. Luckily, we took a couple of paramedics with us, but they were no help, of course. On another occasion, this is probably highly inappropriate to remember, but it was one of Pete's highlights. The weather was very average, and Pete and his assigned deckhand went out for a fishing session. And we're saying, that's too rough, mate. Can't catch fish in this. Didn't matter to Pete. Anyway, we always had a radio in the camp, so we could hear if someone had a flat tyre or there's something wrong with the boat, we could then go and get them. So we had this radio on, and next minute we hear, probably set the scene further. At Lake Pedder, it was known, the RAAF used to run a lot of their training flights across there. We'd be sitting there in the boats, going along, and you could hear this roar. Next minute, these fighter jets had come through, up over Mount Solitary and over the Mount Anne, and we just sort of up amazed, and set the scene of that. So we were heightened to that. They were probably checking our radio frequencies. Next minute, we got a call. Mayday, mayday, mayday. And we thought, geez, that's Pete's voice. And we thought, everyone's sunk. We all got around the radio and thinking what the hell they got themselves into. So a couple of us went for a drive to see if we could see them. Then Pete's voice repeated the call. Mayday, mayday, mayday. And we thought, there must be more than that, Pete. We're out of piss. Here they were at Edgar Dam, pulled up on a beach, sitting in the boat with the canopies up, smoking a cup of darts with his mate, and we get round the corner. Well, geez, did we give it to them? The last thing we wanted was to have the Mercury down there, ABCT, talking about how they rescued these blokes, and the RAAF had sent out all these planes. So, he just didn't get it. He thought it was a great idea. And it was it was bad. You run out. Another thing that Pete used to do, which was highlight in my life, to watch a unit like that in his shorts, water skiing on Lake Pedder, freezing cold, and we'd sit there and he'd go out, he'd have a handful, fill his head full of shampoo, up under the armpits, everywhere else to get the weenies out, and he'd be going round in circles round the bloody lake, and next minute he'd get a handful of water, and your teeth go when you brush your teeth and foam comes, but the best part was there was about 30 Asians and a couple of others all sitting on the beach going, what the hell is this bloke doing? And they're taking photos and shaking their head. Didn't matter to Pete, it was time to clean up. I did get my own back with Pete. I went out with another bloke. Wasn't a very talkative chap, and it was a long day. And as people know me, when I get bored, bad shit usually happens. So it was a beautiful morning, and we decided we'll go around Mount Solitary fishing. And Pete was in another boat, and they'd all gone round, so I was going round with the Captain Nameless, and I said, let's go and find the boys. You need a chat. Anyway, he gets around there, and I'm in the back of the boat, and he used to concentrate fairly hard. And I thought, right, take off all my clothes, got my fly rod out, had the tiniest fly vest on, And as we went past, I said, just go past him. I said, everything's good, we'll trawl past there. And I got the fly rod out, and I'm flogging the living daylights out of it. And I must say the cheeks of my bum were very tight because I did have a fly on it. And the boys have just given it to him. Just roared with laughter and yelling and that. And the poor old bloke, I know he's a bit homophobic or whatever it was, but he didn't talk to me for the rest of the day. He stacked with his head in the windscreen. And the boys come over the radio and declared us broke-back fishing boys. And I think that was Peter. Another funny story is I always remember I got a phone call from Petey. It said he's flying back to Tassie from when he was working, had to go to a work training session in Melbourne, I think it was. He was slightly embarrassed, but extremely happy that he would be the cleanest person enter the state upon his return. He went to bed reasonably late. I had a shower prior to that because he liked to be clean to go to bed. Woke up, I thought, oh shit, I've missed my alarm. Better jump in the shower. Jumped in the shower, come back out, picked his phone up, 2 a.m. Had to go back to, thought, oh bugger it, I'll go back to bed. And then woke up at 4:30 with his alarm, had another shower. He said, I'm the only bastard that's ever come back into Tasmania having 3 showers in a 6-hour period. And talking of sleeping, one of our best, we always had, Pete and I had a thing where we'd go away and we'd go to, I can't remember, Hardware Lane for a shave. We'd roll in there, we'd have a growth, we'd get it all hanging out. So we had to get into the accommodation. Next morning, first thing, we'd go and have this shave. Poor old Pete, we'd had a bit of a big night that night before. Pete's there, and this bloke's giving him all the love, you know, slap, slap, slap. And I'm in the next chair, and I'm looking across, I think, Jesus, he's enjoying himself a bit much here. Next minute, he's gone. He's out cold. And I said to this bloke, and this bloke's just flicking his head. He's giving him a shaver. I said, just pat it. I said, he won't know if it's shaved or not. Conditions easy. And next minute, Petey comes out, looks around. Dear. He's a happy place, and our place of, I suppose, where we got to gather with great friends, great mates, was down at Hellier. And I had an affliction. I must have a lot of medical conditions because we'd been either go fishing or we'd go to the tip. And we'd be coming home in the car, and I'd go, Pete would say, what's wrong, bummer? Things aren't good, Pete. I'm developing an earache. Oh, what are you going to do about that? I said, can we get out of the wind? Yep, Rocky Cape Tavern. So we'd have to go in there for a while, and then he'd turn back round, and we'd have a text message, Leanne would read the text, where are you boys? And always put back on it, bummer's earache. That was just knowledge. Probably another highlight for Pete and others is that after seeing Ross Wilson, we saw some great bands down there. We all went back to Targets very early in the morning. Things were going really well until once again, boredom started to sink in with me. I found a postie bike. Never ridden a postie bike. Thought, Jesus, this is going to be a good idea. 2 o'clock in the morning, the fire pot going and go round there. Need someone on there to balance me. Next week I got Leanne on the back, and Pete had hated motorbikes. Had absolute dislike for it. And we were doing all right. We were going round there, Lil was on the back, and I thought, righto, it's a bit cold outside. Took us straight into Target's lounge room. Well, they're moving the gears and they're laughing at us thinking, you stupid bastards. Went back out, got out the door, lost control. Lil went off in the bloody air. Our imaginary letters went flying. I'm trying to hold everyone up and Pete's just come out and just looked at me. Fucking motorbikes. Just a couple more, but, you know, like always one of Pete's favourite stories, and there was a bit more to it than what I knew, was Eli, Jack, Lil and Revy. What could go wrong with a trip away? So Revy's just had surgery on his knee. He's got a knee brace. Eli is sharing a room with Eli, and they had a big fan in there, and Eli must have moved the fan, so Revy said. And we know what Revy gets a little bit dyslexic sometimes when he's waking up out of his stupor. So he thought, oh, I've got to go to the toilet. Got to go. Got up, tripped over the fan, swung back round and hit the bed table. And the best part was everyone come in. You're right, Revy, turned the lights on for him. And here he is, split head, everything else, in his super red underpants. Who said heroes don't fly? Also, I think it was on the same trip that Eli gets sent on a really important message. Revy, we've got to go. And Revy said, why? No, we don't have to. No, Dad says we've got to go. And Revy's concerned, what's wrong? Oh, he shit himself. He doesn't want to come in. But I think the strongest memories I'll ever have with Pete, his family and his friends, is he was such a positive personality, whether it was coaching young men to not only be the best they could both on and off the field, but in life. He always offered that support. Our regular breakfasts at the shack, Pete and Lil doing their show. Great eggs, Pete. Bacon's good, Lil. Every morning this used to go on. It used to do me head in. I had to go through. Boomer, do you want a piece of bacon? He'd hand the bit of bacon down, give it to Boomer. He loved Boomer. But Pete, along with Leanne, the perfect pair, they've left an imprint in our minds and hearts that will often pop up in times when we get together. And also as we walk away in life, we've had a lot of great times, we had a lot of good times planned, but the best part is that we've still got each other and we've still got Pete's love, soul looking over us.
Yeah, great stuff there. Many stories and stories that can be told in public, and I'm sure you had a bigger book full of stories that probably couldn't be shared for tender ears. We're now about to have somebody very special come to the microphone and share a little story with us. And you'll get a great thrill out of this when Sharon comes forward and reads a letter, I believe, on behalf of a very close friend of hers, Leanne. Sharon, here she is right now, ready to tell us the awful truth. Thank you.
To my forever love, Petey, my husband, soulmate, best friend, my rock. There is a million things I could say, Pete. Our love was so special, and everyone would say that we were simply made for each other, two peas in a pod. Our life of 40 years together has always been filled with the most fun, mischief, so many laughs, and most of all, so much love. When Jack and Eli were born, our lives became even better. All we wanted were two boys. And to see you with them, and the love and the pride that you have for them fills my heart with joy. We couldn't wait to be grandparents, and we were beyond excited when Wyatt, your little man, as you called him, came into our lives. Our love then went to another level. Wyatt's obsession with his poppy Pete was overwhelming. He loves you so much. And then 11 weeks ago, our precious Marley was born. We would say to each other, "Can you believe that we have a granddaughter, Petey? We are truly blessed. I promise you that they will always know what a precious, adored poppy Pete you are. I will always look after Jack, Eli, Christy, and our grandbabies. But I know that you are constantly looking down on us, guiding and protecting and loving us from above. I will continue to make you proud of me as we navigate our way through life without you. There will never be anyone else for me, Pete. I had my forever love. I love you, I'm so proud of you, and I miss you for the rest of my days until we see each other again. Sleep peacefully, my love, your Lily. Sleep tight, Lily. Sleep tight, Petey.
If any of you ever need a love letter written, would you please see Leanne? That was wonderful, and thank you, Sharon, so much for that. A 61-year friendship between the girls, and their stories alone would fill a volume, I'm sure. We're now about to go back in time in Pete's life per virtue of some treasured family photographs that they will appear on the big screen out at the Oval, I believe, and hear some of Pete's favourite music in the background. Thank you.
It's a little bit funny, this feeling inside. I'm not one of those who can easily hide. I don't have much money, but boy, if I did, I'd buy a big house where we both could live. If I was a sculptor, but then again, no, or a man who makes potions in a traveling show. I know it's not much, but it's the best I can do. My gift is my song, and this one's for you. And you can tell everybody this is your song. It may be quite simple, but now that it's done, I hope you don't mind, I hope you don't mind that I put down in the words how wonderful life is while you're in the world. I sat on the roof and kicked out the moss. Well, a few of the verses, well, they've got me quite cross, but the sun's been quite kind while I wrote this song. It's for people like you that keep it turned on. So excuse me for getting, but these things I do, you see, I've forgotten if they're green or they're blue. Anyway, the thing is, what I really mean, yours are the sweetest eyes I've ever seen. And you can tell everybody this is the song. It may be quite simple, but now that it's done, I hope you don't mind, I hope you don't mind that I put down in the words how wonderful life is while you're in the world. I hope you you don't mind, I hope you don't mind that I put down in the words how wonderful life is while you're in the world.
Second-hand unwind. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Time after time. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Time after time. After my picture fades and darkness has turned to grey, watching through windows, you're wondering if I'm okay. Secrets stolen from deep inside. The drum beats out of time. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Time after time. You said go slow, I fall behind. The second-hand unwind. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Time after time. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Time after time. 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 Time after.
Grandpa, are fairy tales real?
A cold beer's got 12 ounces. A good truck's got maybe 300,000. You only get so much until it's gone. Duracells and a mag light, a needle drop on a 45 are the kind of things that they get to getting old. Sooner or later, time's gonna take its toll. They say nothing lasts forever, but they ain't seen us together, or the way the moonlight dances in your eyes. Just a t-shirt in the kitchen with no makeup and a million other things that I could look at my whole life. A love like that makes a man have second thoughts. Maybe some things last forever after all. The FM station on the outskirts, blue jeans after years of shift work, are fading out like I always knew they would. The strings on this guitar, the first love lost on a young heart, those things are gonna break after the getting's good. Cause the new wears off and they get to getting old. But yeah, sooner or later, time's gonna take its toll. They say nothing lasts forever, but they ain't seen us together, or the way the moonlight dances in your eyes. Just a t-shirt in the kitchen with no makeup and a million other things that I can look at my whole life. A love like that makes a man have second thoughts. Maybe some things last forever after all. They say nothing lasts forever, but they ain't seen us together, or the way the moonlight dances in your eyes. And I know there'll be that moment the good Lord calls one of us home, and one won't have the other by their side. But heaven knows that won't last too long. Maybe some things last forever after all. After all.
Grandpa, are fairy tales real?
Thank you to the family for sharing those treasured memories with us. Beautiful memories of a beautiful man and a beautiful family. So it's not our hands that make us human, nor our legs. It is not the shape of our faces, nor the lustre of our hair, or the texture of our skin. We are human because of our hearts and the souls that fill those hearts. Pete's soul was private, it was strong, it was proud. Qualities that have been passed on to you, his family. And by his example, he has shown you how to care for each other and to nurture each other and to look to the best in each other. And, well, he would have you do those things. Today we celebrate love and we celebrate life. And the grief that we feel today is a response of that love, because if there is no love, then there is no grief. Yes, it's hard to experience the great loss that we are going through. I think Pete also would have said this: remember me with a smile, now my life on earth is done. My dreams have all been fulfilled and a new life has begun. Remember me with a smile, when grief may cause you to weep. One day we will all laugh again when our next meeting we keep. Let's be thankful we shared good times. Keep the memories warm for a while. Let them bring peace to your hearts, and remember me with a smile. And I know that each and every one of you here today will remember our great friend with many a smile. He was a fisherman, and I found a little something I think that could be appropriate. God grant that I may catch a fish so big that even I, when speaking of it afterwards, may never need to lie. And God grant that I may live to fish until my dying day, and that when it comes to my last cast, then I most humbly pray, when I'm in the good Lord's landing net and peacefully asleep, that in his mercy I am judged as good enough to keep. Pete will declare you a keeper. And the Irish blessing to finish our part of the service here in the club rooms today. But before I do that, I just want to thank on behalf of Parkside Funerals and the Penguin Football Club and myself, thank you for the great honour that you've paid us in allowing us to help say farewell to this icon, to this great man that we've all come to love and who will be so sadly missed. You have paid us all a great honour. Thank you so much. And the Irish blessing, may the road rise up to meet you. May the stand do what it ought to do. Yeah. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warmly upon your face, and the rains fall softly upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you all safely in the palm of his hand. Could I now invite you all to stand, please, ladies and gentlemen, as we prepare to take our final farewell. And guard of honour, please, down inside the boundary line. And then the family will rejoin you after everybody comes back a little bit later on. Thank you all so much. It has been a great honour. And we now leave Peter to the next stage of his journey. Thank you.
These mist-covered mountains are home now for me, but my home is the lowlands, and always will be. Someday you'll return to your valleys and your farms, and you'll no longer burn to be brothers in arms.
through these fields of destruction. Baptisms of fire. I've witnessed your suffering as the battle raged high. And though it had hurt me so bad, in the fear and alarm, you did not desert me, my brothers and I. There's so many different worlds, so many different suns, and we have just one world, but we live in different ones. Now the sun's gone to hell, the moon's riding high. Let me bid you farewell. Every man has to die, but it's written in the stars. In every line in your palm, we're fools to make war on our brothers in arms.
I'll wait till he's on the ground. Just got 2 songs, then we go to yours. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not.